Joining me now to talk about this, Democratic Congressman Mike Quigley of Illinois. Congressman, thanks so much for joining us. As you know, President Zelensky is asking for more help from the U.S. in the war against Russia. He's gotten it time and again, but in particular, he really wants these F-16 fighter jets. You heard the president say there to ABC that, for now it's not happening. It doesn't sound like he's closing the door on this. You're the co-chair of the Ukrainian caucus in Congress. What do you make of this? Do you think the president can be moved on this?
It's a familiar pattern, isn't it? I mean, we were going to support a war of insurgency with javelin, stingers, and light weaponry. That moved on to howitzers, HIMARS, heavy armor. What were once no's are now yeses, following the advice of Supreme Commander Clark of NATO, who said, at some point, we have to stop worrying about Putin's red lines and our own. My red lines got crossed when I saw a maternity hospital get collapsed, when I stood at Bucha last summer at a mass grave. We have to help Ukraine win quickly. I hear the phrase, as long as it takes, we'll be with you. But again, President Zelensky said that to me directly in Kyiv and in Washington, D.C. Yesterday, I spoke to St. Nicholas School here in Chicago. There were 75 refugees under 8th grade there. Do I really want to go back there in a year after another anniversary? We've got to ask ourselves, are we giving them just enough material to keep a static war, to protect themselves? And what will it take for ultimate victory?
And I remember from my days as a local reporter in Chicago, the Ukrainian community there is very important there in Chicago. But back to this issue of the F-16s, would you advise the president to say yes to that sooner rather than later?
Sure. I mean, but let's again look at the pattern and just look at the situation with tanks, the Abrams tank. That was a no, no, no. Now it's a yes, but because of those delays, and we weren't preparing or training the Ukrainians for that, I'd be shocked if those Abrams tanks get there before 2024. There's an offensive coming from the Russians now. So as we debate this and hear from the experts about whether the F-16s will help, why can't we start training them? Why can't we get the process in place to move that to a possibility? So when we ultimately get to a yes, which apparently we always do, there isn't another 8 to 12 month wait.
And is part of the problem, if you move too quickly on that type of proposal, that you lose potential Republican support in the House and that it makes it more difficult to pass aid packages? What is the holdup? I mean, you just said, why can't we? Why can't we?
I think we can. Look, and I appreciate the fact the Biden administration deserves more credit than anyone outside of Ukraine for the success so far. They've been masterful in unifying the West with NATO, keeping the U.S. behind this, and this extraordinary amount of military, humanitarian, economic aid that's gone forward. But I think this is a blind spot that we need to get over. And I keep hearing about Republicans not supporting this. Look, there's a resolution by the Republicans to cut off the funding. It's co-sponsored by all 11 of them. I think it's more helpful to listen to Republican Chairman McCall, Republican Chairman Turner, far more influential within the Republican ranks, and they're very supportive of helping find a quick victory here. So my only concern in that vein is that the Speaker seems to have made some sort of deal with the devil and the far extreme right, and he may be more influenced than he should be with their take on this.
And the president also discussed China's peace plan, or so-called peace plan, what they're calling a peace plan for Ukraine, saying the idea of China negotiating the outcome of the war was, quote, not rational. That's according to President Biden. And that Russia's Vladimir Putin is applauding that. Can the Chinese be trusted on this? What do you think?
Look, the Chinese can't be trusted on this, but they're going to have some impact on this. They have the ability to have an impact on this war by their decisions to help the Russians. My concern is that some of this aid is sort of dual-use materials, chips that can be used for commercial use, but also wartime use. Do I think they'll go more overt and provide artillery shells and ammunitions? I doubt it, but it's a great concern. Literally, the weeks before this conflict started, the Chinese and Russians, as you know, signed an agreement to come much closer together. And the Chinese came out against NATO expansion. So they're going to have a lot of influence here. Do I trust them to be a neutral arbiter? Absolutely not.
All right, Congressman Mike Quigley, thanks so much as always. We appreciate it.
Thank you.